begin our meeting by thanking our water superintendent, Mayor James Stewart, as well as our utility supervisor, Jared Morris, for being here. And I'd like to begin by noting we had a water committee meeting last April where we provided all residents and the public, as well as on our website, with a EPA finalization of the PFAS National Primary Drinking Water Regulation. Now, many of you have copies of that, and this regulation that was set forth by the EPA was finalized on April the 26th of 2024. And basically, I'm going to summarize it very quickly. What it does is drinking water systems must meet the new standards on PFAS within 5 years. Regulated drinking water systems have 3 years to complete initial monitoring for the targeted PFAS. At the conclusion of this monitoring, they must inform the public of the level of PFAS measured in their drinking water. Where PFAS is found at levels that exceed the standards, regulated water systems must implement solutions to reduce PFAS in their drinking water by 2029, which is 2 years beyond the deadline set forth in the proposed rule. So the City of Irondale has implemented 2 ways of approaching reducing the levels of PFAS. The first is through a carbon filtration, which is currently working and has been going for at least 4 months now. And then we have the reverse osmosis that has also been going on. And I believe that one is still going through the piloting stage. But the filtration is working. It has been tested on 2 of our wells, and it is bringing forth some positive results. I have asked our water superintendent, Mayor Stewart, as well as our utility manager, Mr. Morris, to provide you with updates, because there have been several questions that have been asked of me, as well as posted on Facebook, and we've received calls. Council members have received emails, and I want us to provide you with the most updated current information so that hopefully your concerns will be dealt with. What I will do is open it up for our water superintendent, and I do want to leave some time at the end of the presentation to allow you to ask any questions. So with that, Mayor Stewart, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you, sir.
It's a great joy to have a chance to be able to share with you about what's going on in the water department. I also have the water team that's here with me today. We have Tanner, Byron from Municipal Consultants. I wanted to let you all know that we have experts that work alongside us to be able to help us to make the decisions, the things that we do in the water system. We have Jared that runs the day-to-day operations. And then I'm an individual that mostly deals with the financial side of this. But every now and then, get my hands in the middle of what's going on. Now, one thing I will tell you all, that I have this special section that's a part of my presentation, and it's called Dumb Things. Dumb Things deals with things that I've heard people say that is just actually dumb, that they've said over the last 2 to 3 months about what's going on in the water department. So this should be a very good part of the presentation that you all get to hear. I mean, one of the dumb things that I heard, because I am the president of the Jefferson County Mayors Association, that I'm also the president of the Birmingham Waterworks Board. I'm still trying to figure out, how did that dumb thing actually play where I could be over the water department in the city of Irondale, but I could also reside over the water department in Birmingham at the same time.
Now, I will admit to you all, I'm good, but I ain't that damn good to be able to run 2 water departments. But at the end, we will cover a section that I call, these are just absolutely dumb things. Do you want to drink leaded water or unleaded water? That's just a dumb thing. Who would want to drink water that has lead in it? But let me get to the real part of the presentation. While you're here, we're going to talk about PFAS. We're going to talk about lead. And if time permits, we're going to talk about the construction project that we have across the street from Golden Rule. However, before I do that, I wasn't here at the last council meeting. And it was stated that I canceled 4 water meetings. I couldn't remember canceling 4 water meetings, so guess what I did? I had my trusted administrative assistants to go through all the different things that I have talked about since we identified PFAS to be an issue in our water department, and just to be able to give you a few of those things. 424 council meeting. And also, I have the times. So if you want to go back and watch the video, they even put the times where you don't even have to watch the entire video. You can just go back and be able to pull it up from that way. Well, council meeting, 424. 6 minutes and 16 seconds into the presentation. 417, water board meeting at 5:30. The mayor also advised that he was discussing on ABC 3340 about what was going on in the water system. The mayor advised to John Vivona, we tried to get some funding from the state, but they said because we were so financially stable, we would not be able to obtain the money. The mayor advised we're in the process of reapplying. Cindy thanked Vivona and the mayor for the updates pertaining to the funding. 521, council meeting, mayor report. 618-24, mayor's report. 7/2/2024, mayor's report. 9/17/24, mayor's report at the council meeting. ABC 3340, November 14th, 2024. City of Irondale purchased carbon contactors to reduce PFAS in the water supply. September the 9th, 2024. Updated on September the 10th. Local doctor raised alarms over PFAS chemical levels in the water system. October the 7th, the mayor interviewed with Cynthia Gould from ABC 3340 to talk about the water system. Facebook, September the 10th. The mayor and Jared Morris did a 15-minute presentation about PFAS being in the water system. I'm not going to continue to go on with this report, but we're going to post it on website as well as on the, what's our other little thing? The app. For anybody that wants to be able to read about how often we've talked about the water system. Because there's some little birds that are flying around saying that we hadn't talked about the water system since April the 17th when the EPA came out with those regulations. But let's jump into the presentation right quick. It's PFAS. Now let me talk to you all about our action plan. These are several things that the city of Irondale has done since April the 10th. If you need me to leave this up, if you want to take a picture, you can. And if you don't, we're going to post it on the website anyway to give everybody an opportunity to be able to read it. And we're also taping this on Facebook so you can go back just in case your ears didn't pick up something. And before you decide to put out erroneous information, maybe you'll play it back to make sure that you put out the correct information moving forward. Well, we've taken well 2 and 5 offline because there was a high concentration of PFAS in those wells. Currently, we are exploring additional water sources. We talked about that. We've had a resolution that came before the council that allow us to be able to look to see if we can find some additional wells. We've implemented the pilot study. Anybody gone over to the water department to see those two big white tanks that's over there? Only 2 people? Wow. I would think that if you was really concerned, you would probably go over there to see what was going on. That's just me though. Also, we're working on a reverse osmosis pilot study, and I have the pictures that's a part of this. And then we are also pursuing grant money through ADEM. We currently have a grant, you all can correct me if I'm wrong, $5.3 million that is coming from ADEM to be able to deal with the water issues that we have here in the city. We're also pursuing additional funding. And then also I want to let you know that the carbon contactors are temporary measures to make sure that we can reduce the amount of PFAS in our water supply. Those are the carbon contactors. There, we were just joking about it today. Jared and his staff was able to do the impossible. They were able to construct this entire apparatus in 81 days. I criticized Jared about it today because I said, well, Nehemiah rebuilt the wall in 52 days. I can't understand why it took you 81 days to be able to put this apparatus in. Jared replied to me and said, well, Mayor, Nehemiah didn't have attorneys he had to deal with. And he also said that he had God on his side. And I conceded once he said that, say, hey, you're absolutely right. But the system is working well. I want to say it was fully implemented in December of 24. They did a great job of getting the system in. This is the reverse osmosis pilot that we have going on at the water department as well. Jared, when was this? All right, thank you for that. Now we get to the test results for PFAS in the Irondale water system. And as we look at the results, we can see that in the first quarter of 24, wells 5, 6, and 7 did have a higher concentration, 6.3 parts per trillion. And for the other PFOS, PFNA, I can't tell you what all of those mean, and you probably don't want to know what they mean, other than we did have a higher concentration in the first quarter there. Councilwoman Cuellar did state that we have until 2029 to be able to get to the MCLs. However, we have exceeded that within the first year. If you go to the results for 2025 for the first quarter, I did want to let you know that ADEM results lag behind Guardian reports. So these numbers are not on ADEM yet, but they will be there. And if you can see for well 5, 6, and 7, does anybody know what ND means? I couldn't hear you all. Could y'all say that one more time? Okay. I know it's probably hard for some of you all to be able to embrace that you can't detect PFAS in the water. After all, the PFAS is killing dogs and, doing a little bit of everything, everything bad. But as you can see, because we have such a great water department, we have wonderful engineers. When the results were done, you got ND in each one of those columns, which means that it could not detect that it was there, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. And also, I want you to constantly remind yourself, these are temporary measures. These are not permanent measures. We still have a ongoing lawsuit to be able to provide us with the tools that are needed on a permanent basis. If you don't walk away with anything else, MCLs is ND, and that these are temporary measures. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do like we do in school to make sure that everybody understands. Could you all please repeat after me that when I look at the results for the City of Irondale water system, it is ND. That's where y'all supposed to chime in. Okay. I know it's hard. I know it's hard to let those letters just roll off your tongue. But ND, non-detect, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Well 5, 6, and 7. Well 2 is not online. And we're still looking for other water sources. But I'm going to ask Jared, Byron, and Tanner if they would stand, because those are the individuals that you need to give the accolades to. They're the ones that I want you all to clap for, just to let them know that they appreciate it. Now, we pay all 3 of them well, but I think every now and then they like for us just to give them a handshake. Anybody want to take a picture of that? Yeah, come up and take a picture of it. You want a picture, Ms. Shara? I'm going to post it, but just in case you want to put it out there tonight when you get home on The Guardian, I'm going to give it to you today before you get there. Okay, now we're getting into LCR, stands for lead. We're going to talk about this, the drink lead or not the drink lead. I guess that would be the $64,000 question. But we're going to cover this to be able to give you the, I would say, unadulterated truth. I'm not here for fear. So I'm not here to make people scared about what's going on in the city of Irondale. Because for some people, it's very hard to accept the success that is going on at this time. And their goal is always to find something negative to say. We had a wonderful opening at the dog park. I haven't seen anything posted about the dog park, the baseball field, but I always see something about the city of Irondale's $113 million in debt. Go figure. All right, let's get back to the presentation. I bet y'all say I'm off the chain today, huh? And I would admit it, I am. Lead in the drinking water. How do you get lead in the drinking water? There are several different ways that you can see from this illustration that you can get lead in the water. It could come from soldering pipes. It could come from your faucets. It could come from galvanized pipe. It could even come from a lead service line. Even the goosenecks that ties all of that into the meter that runs from the street to the house, it can come from there. Although we've been led to believe that lead only comes into your water system from one way, and that's through what? The water that you drink. Well, you can see today that there are several different ways that it can get into your house, and it doesn't have to come through the water. What are the key provisions that you need to know about the LCR? And this is from the EPA. They're giving all municipalities 10 years to be able to, if they identify that there's lead replacement, they have 10 years to be able to deal with it. Number 2, it talks about locating legacy lead pipes. Legacy lead pipes in the city of Irondale would be in the older part of Irondale. Downtown Irondale would have if we had a higher concentration of lead pipes on our service line. Because guess what? Anybody want to take a guess how many lead service lines we have in the city of Irondale? Aaron? 0. How many people want to agree with Aaron and say, city of Irondale only got 0 lead lines in the city? Okay. Well, you all are absolutely correct. City of Irondale doesn't have any lead service lines. They have been identified and removed. And again, I give that all to Jared. And trust me, Jared said it today. He said, Mayor, if we ever have you out there with us removing water lines, we in bad shape. And I said, and Byron and Tanner, the experts, agreed with him to say, yeah, if it ever get to the point that the mayor out there, because these hands don't know how to do anything but sign something with a blue pen. I have no construction ability in this body, but Jared does a very good job of making sure that happens. Then we're going to lower the lead action level. I'll get into that a little bit into the presentation, but I'm going to let Jared kind of speak to that because he gave me a wonderful presentation on how to be able to deal with it. Oh, did I go to it? Okay. Okay, according to this, this is the EPA. You can pull this up. You can see exactly, I just talked about, our goal is to be able to achieve 100% lead pipe replacement within 10 years. There's no acceptable level of lead. Although they have levels, they've just reduced the level from 15 down to 10. But, and we were talking about that in the office. What does 10, what was it, Tanner? You can give me 10 pp. You won't break it down in layman terms for us?
Billion.
Yeah. Tanner talked to me like I used to work at the post office. We had acronyms for everything. So he just rattles it off. But would you tell us one more time, Tanner, what it is? And what did you tell me if we had that amount of lead in our water? You gave me a candy analogy.
That's the action limit established by the EPA, is that 10 ppb. That was brought down to 15 ppb in this LCRI for lead copper rule improvements and with that this October.
So we went down from 15 M&Ms to 10.
Correct.
Okay. Got to get my swipe on. There you go. I talked about that we've already located what they call the legacy lead pipes. We've already identified them. We had to have this report turned in by October 16th of 2024. Jared, do you remember when we turned this report in?
The verified material on our side as well as on the customer side. And during that report and during that inventory, we found no sources of lead. And that is in a spreadsheet submitted to the EPA, that every water system in the United States had to produce. So we have that document, we're confident in that document. And so we were very proud to not find any lead in that.
Okay. Could you just say your last sentence one more time? Started with any?
Oh, yeah, we've not used anything, any lead whatsoever.
Okay.
In that.
All right. Thank you. All right. There was talk about sampling and how we should begin the sampling process. And I thought that it would be a good idea to have a slide in here that deals with the 30 samples that we're required to take. Here are the results from those 30 samples that was taken. You can see that the number for each one of those samples was up under the 10 M&M level. Y'all funny. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jared and Tanner to let them give you a little bit more technical explanation about dealing with the samples.
Why don't we sample? There's been remarks were made. Why do we sample all the oldest houses in Irondale? Well, that's not possible because that's not what EPA tells us to do. EPA gives us the guidelines of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Now those have changed to tier 1 through 5. So those are the guidelines that we follow. It's not the oldest house. It's between certain years of before the lead ban, when lead solder was enacted, and so those are the homes that we target. One, when we contact the owner, they have to be willing to work with us. Two, they have to be able to allow us to look at their plumbing. And then three, they have to be able to be inconvenienced and pull that sample for us. We don't pull this sample. We drop this bottle off. They do a first draw sample, which is basically when they wake up in the morning, that sample has to be off, or that sampling source has to be off for 6 hours. And so they take that bottle, they turn the sample on, they fill it up, they set it back on the porch, and we fill that back. We then come get that, bring that to the lab to have the analysis ran. The resident of that home, they get that sample results mailed to them, as well as the 90th percentile. Everything in this is based off the 90th percentile. From least to greatest, it is the 90th percentile. So you can see the 27th highest sample is what we figure, what EPA makes us figure the threshold to be at. Again, these are EPA rules. We just follow them. They mandate every bit of sampling that we do, how we do it, when we do it, and where we do it. This isn't Mayor Stewart's rules, municipal consultant rules, my rules. This is all from EPA. So we're on their playground. We just play on it.
Tanner, did you?
Yeah, I think Jared hit the nail on the head. These tier 1 locations are identified based on what was the LCRR revisions, which came out in 2021. And so essentially those revisions stated that for houses built between 1983 and 1986, those would be classified as tier 1. And the reason that range was selected and not just anything as old as possible in the city of Irondale was because in 86 there was a lead ban. Going up to 86, those 3 years previous, you saw an influx of copper pipes. And on those copper pipes, you'd have lead-based solder, so that would be up to 50% lead. Going forward with LCRI, some of this will change. As it changes, Jared and his team will adapt and change and set up their tier structure as required by the EPA.
Not at this time. So what now? No, it's not convenient for you to ask it at this time. All right. Also, I think one of the other things that you all mentioned, Byron mentioned this as we were going through our meeting. Someone wanted to know, why is the city of Irondale not following the regulations? Well, the regulations just came out in January of 25, and we're adjusting, and we plan on following them, but we couldn't follow them before January 25 if they were not in effect.
We're required to sample. We're required to sample in the hottest months of the year. So this sampling has to take place between July and September. We don't get to pick whenever month we want to. We're required to test in a specific month approved by EPA and ADEM.
Thank you, Jared. What has the city accomplished Those are just several things there that we've done. We've already inventoried the public and private lines to the meter box because that's what we are responsible for. We've already completed the EPA and ADM required sampling. You just heard Jared and Tanner give a wonderful explanation about that. Maintaining a lead and copper sampling plan in accordance with EPA requirements, and we are working through that as we speak. And we're preparing for sampling in 25, so I guess that'll be in the summer of 25. If you are chosen, please participate in the process. One of the things Jared said, the most difficult thing that we're having now is that people don't want to participate. And then sometimes he say, even if you get people to participate, all kind of stuff show up in the bottles. Stuff that I don't want to talk to you all about right now, but put your little imagination together and figure out what people do with bottles and what stuff they put in bottles when they don't want to do the right thing. And also, they are reducing the levels from 15 down to 10, but you can see in our 23 sampling, the highest was a 7, and maintaining copper levels below the EPA action plan. So that's what we're doing here, things that we've already accomplished. Now, I came in here and worked on this today, but it ain't working. Josh, Emma, do I need y'all's assistance? I made it smaller. Okay. I went the wrong way. Other side. Here. Workers' comp. All right. I can do a lot of complicated things, but I can't. but I can't tap a screen. I don't have any coordination. So, but I did want to show you all a map of the inventory that Jared had to turn in by October the 16th, and this identify every house in Irondale that they have gone out to and to identify on the service side that we don't have any lead pipes, service lines on that side. I'm gonna get it right before I give State of the City in here. By the way, March 25th, State of the City here in this council will be here an hour and a half. Bring your questions. You may want to even bring your dinner. Frustrating. It's going backwards, right? Emma, next time, just give me a clicker. Is that it, Jared? We're going backwards. I got my rhythm now. All right. Well, this is the last slide, I think. No, we got one more. What's next? No, this is the last slide. If your home was constructed before 1986, it has lead piping or copper piping with lead soldering, please contact our office and ask to speak to Jared. He is the expert on what's going on in this particular area. And in the future, just be aware that it's very difficult for us to get individuals that want to be able to participate in the process. Hopefully, if you're on Irondale Water and they ask you to be a part of it, I hope that you will accept the request. This brings our PowerPoint presentation to a close. Councilwoman Cuellar, I can turn it over to you, or we can just field questions. Oh, you want, yeah, I'm gonna let Jared, since it's 5:36, we'll still have about 15 minutes left. You want to share, Jared, about the interstate?
I don't know if I can swap this thing like you, Mayor. Um, so obviously here's, most everybody knows the interstate, at Golden Rule, we've been under construction there. So just give an update on that. RAS Construction successfully moved around 840 feet of 12-inch ductile under the interstate, and we have inspected that casing. We have received approval from AlDOT and the Federal Highway Administration for approval required for the necessary repairs. That's been a ongoing process to try to do that. That was a lot of moving parts. It went way out of Montgomery, and so we finally got approval on that last week. And we're going to have to build a road behind Mavis Tire because that terrain has obviously changed very significantly since I think 1985. And so now that we have AlDOT's approval, we can finalize the plans and move forward with bidding this repair. And then we have some pictures. You can kind of see what has taken place. So again, this is the road that we're on the state's right of way here. We're actually, the water main's got to go back in this area. So there's got to be a significant amount of dirt brought in to again grade this off and redo that slope. You can see, I mean, it took them a full day to cut this road in to be able to get back there and do it. They cut the casing out. That's what the pipe looked like inside of the casing.
Jared, I think Josh said it's
100%. And then we're going backwards. Oh, maybe it's like a short swap. And so this is the Golden Rule side, and as you can see, there's a little hole right here. I think we kind of isolated the leak at like 297 feet where it broke at, and it had made a hole. This is the casing, and this is the actual water line itself. Dang it, I knew that was going to happen. And then so it had made a hole right here, and that's where it was blowing out of. That's a pretty neat little picture. And then this is RAS. They're actually pulling the actual pipe out from the interstate. What they had to do, pull it 20 feet, cut it, pull that pipe out of the way, re-rig it, pull 20 feet, cut it, for quite some time. I mean, it's a lot of work, and those guys did a great job, and I can't say anything negative about how they did it. We think this is the failure that take place. All this was bolted together in a sense. The flanges were, and you can see when that leak occurred. Not to give a science presentation, but oxygen got in there and it pretty much disintegrated the bolts. You can see what it did there, and so I think we're pretty confident that's what happened. No, it's not stainless. It was this was all installed in '85. So that's kind of where we're at now. All that pipe is stacked up on the side by Golden Rule, and I think obviously I didn't take this picture, but that's somebody's ladder that puts it to scale. Yeah, that's it. But that's just an update on what's going on with the interstate at the time.
All right, I'm going to cut my last little section, and then we're going to be able to take questions. This is a part of my, I guess you could say, the last part of the presentation. You know, I told you that I had talked all about dumb things. Well, one of the other dumb things was, does the mayor care about the citizens on Irondale Water since he's on Birmingham Water? And the answer to that is yes. It has nothing to do with me being on Birmingham Water, that I don't care about the people that elected me to watch out for their best interests in the city of Irondale. That's definitely a dumb thing. And the last one I'll finish with, the mayor must be scared of Irondale Water because he only drank bottled water at the council meeting. That's the water that they bring me. That's the water that I drink. Has nothing to do with what's going on in the city of Irondale. I hope that this presentation to talk about PFAS, talk about lead, to talk about the construction that we're doing, and also to list some of the dumb things and rumors that we heard. You now have the unadulterated truth, and the truth shall set you free. Either you want to accept it or you don't. And I'm quite sure before the night is out, it kind of reminds me of the Bible. You remember when Jesus told Peter he'll deny 3 times? He said, no, I won't. And before that rooster crowed, he denied Jesus. Well, I'm quite sure somebody's going to still leave here today and put some stupid stuff out there about what's going on. But
Ms.
you all,
Stewart.
but you all are here and you know the truth. Thank you for coming. Hopefully,
Mayor Stewart,
I'm getting
as
ready-
Water Committee Chair, I am opening up the floor now to give our residents an opportunity to ask questions.
I'm getting ready to turn it over to you. It's rude for you to cut me
Well,
off.
Mayor
in the
Stewart,
middle.
I'm
It's
just
rude
wanting
for
us
you
to stay
cut me
focused on the
off.
meeting.
It's rude for you to cut me off in the middle of my speech. I'm getting ready to turn the floor over to you. You can answer whatever questions you want to answer, but you were still rude. Now you all can ask whatever questions you want to ask.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Stewart, as well as Utility Manager Morris, as well as the representatives, Tanner and Brian, I want to thank you for being here and providing our residents with updated information. The problem that residents were having, there were several dates where comments were made about our water system. Our residents wanted to ask questions. They never had an opportunity to ask questions during a council meeting. This is why they were asking for a water committee meeting so that they could ask questions. This is why I made several attempts to have a water committee meeting. With that in mind, I'm going to open up the floor now for our residents to ask any questions that have not been answered tonight. We're going to call on our residents. We're going to call on, he's been waiting for a while. Excuse me, is the microphone on?
All right. My comments are all professional. I'd like to ask the consultant, I know the 15 to the 10 parts per billion for lead. I know the charts. And when I go to the ATOM site where Guardian Systems posted, just on one page, and I'm not going to read off the addresses. I don't think that's proper. 3 addresses one on Stonewall, one on Darlene Circle, one on Round Forest, has readings between 6 to 7 parts per billion. Now, I know the action limit is 10, but that's darn close. And you know the EPA has a 0 level for what is called safe level for lead. You know that. My concern, as I addressed at the last council meeting, doesn't affect my home. I said, since these are approaching the action limit, what would be the readings at the oldest homes in Irondale? Now, that's not a dumb question. It's a valid question. And if I lived in the oldest part of the city, I would want to know that. And that's all I stated at the last council meeting. I thought it was a legitimate question. And thus, I ask you, as the consultant, would you not say that the oldest homes should be tap water tested, knowing I'm reading 3 levels of 6, 6, and 7 parts per billion in homes that are not reflective of the oldest in the city? Can you answer that?
I mean, even if you test the oldest houses in Irondale, like most of old Irondale, the infrastructure down here has been replaced. So it's all ductile and PEX. And we're also required by EPA to test a certain tier, which represents certain years the home was built, and what the material is. So if that house has been replumbed, it wouldn't matter how old it is.
Would it be wise and prudent to test the older homes? I think that's a valid assessment, and I'll leave it as that.
Can we
I'd like
have
to
the-
speak
hold
one
on,
thing
he's-
to what the city does do. And the city, if it's okay, if I briefly,
Absolutely.
the city is also trying to pay attention to what the cost of water is. And so while sampling across citywide sounds like it may be something that we should be exploring, it's cost prohibitive. And so there is a balance. And so there is an analysis that the EPA has already done for us. And we're not doing our best. We are following those guidelines and then going above and beyond and making sure that we are paying attention. When we get close to action limits, sure, we're going to pay attention to it. So I do believe that there has to be a balance and we have to follow regulations. We're in compliance. And I think that's the most important consideration right now to be paying attention to.
Just maybe a clarification. Whose responsibility is lead piping on the other side or on the resident side, the property owner's side of the meter, and any lead piping or copper piping with lead solder possibly in it that is in the home? I can understand the city wanting to test to identify those things, and that is a good thing. But whose responsibility is corrective action and replacement? Does the municipality bear the responsibility of that replacement, or is that the property owner? If it's the property owners, and this is a statement, not a question, so forgive me here. If it's the property owner, there may be many property owners not wanting to submit to the testing, because if they find out that their property does have a lead issue, it could affect the valuation of their home should they try to sell it. And I don't know who you want to answer it. Maybe the legal department would answer it.
So this shows basically, so yeah, they may have a high action level, but we can, this test puts it out of our control as well, because if they didn't, they have lead solder on copper, again, that's not an action that we can go in and refund somebody's house. So we have a service line, and then the plumbing code then kicks in, and then that's when Greg goes out there, and then if somebody replaces their service line, they go get a permit and they do that. We have no control over what they do on that's private property. And so you can see, I mean, EPA's got it lined out. It may be in your faucet. You could have a lead-based faucet. You could have galvanized piping. I mean, this is EPA slide, so you can see there's different variables in these homes that dictate that test that we have no control over.
Right. One more follow-up, though. The homeowner is not going to know if there's lead unless testing is done. So irregardless of where it is, who's responsible, it's just getting the word out to the homeowner. Could be a senior citizen, could be someone that just moved in. You know, irrespective of the repair, it's just having the knowledge that, yeah, I have to do something. The city came, they did a productive test, and it's close to the action limit. It might even be over the action limit.
So I'll tell you, so what we do on how we fully assess these tax maps, building codes as far as how things were built, what material was used. And then we put all that in the pot, and we, to get 30 samples back, we have to put out 50 bottles. And it is tough for these people to inconvenience. We do everything we can to get 30 samples back. And I mean, we target what EPA tells us to target, where the lead is supposed to be on their parameters. I mean, we dive into that. And like I said, we put out around 50 bottles, and we're lucky to get 30 back. We have to have 30, so we have 30 alternates, 30 primary. And so, you know, we kind of have to leave 10 out there in case we need to really put those 10. And we try to call these people. We try to meet with these people. We try to look at the plumbing to educate them, to see if their house has been replumbed, to try to get the most accurate data, because, you know, a bad test does nothing for anybody. I mean, we want to, you know, if somebody doesn't have lead, and I got kids. So, I mean, if my house had lead, I would want to be but that people have to be receptive to information, we can only do so much, and we, I feel like we do a lot. We send a letter, we call them, we go knock on their door, and I do this test personally. There's nobody else that helps with this. I go and I deliver 50 of these bottles, it takes about a week. And that's what I do for a solid week, because, if anybody's got any questions, my cell phone number is wrote on the slip that is given these people. They call me personally. I'll explain any information they want to. As soon as we get the test results back, we send that to them with the 90th percentile. We send them, information on lead if they want that. I mean, we try to do everything we can to educate these people. But again, we can only do as much as we can.
So, Mr. Gregg, I have a follow-up
Hold
question,
on.
too, since Mr. Bowman
You got
took a
another one
follow-up.
with a hand up.
Very good. Mr. Bowman took a follow-up. I will too, Councilwoman Queller. Is there some type of forbidden action that a citizen could not have their own water tested? I know that we've had our lake water tested. We've had several other water tested by Guardian. All we have to do is pick up a bottle, take the sample, and we get the result. What would prevent a resident, other than maybe cost effective, from testing their own water if they're heavily concerned? Should the city bear the expense of testing every house that's suspected? Or if a citizen's concerned, they can have their own test done, can they not?
Guardian's open to the public. I mean, anybody can go up there at any point in time, and they give you a 1 liter bottle. You can go pull a first draw. As far as the cost goes, that's up to you all. If you want to put that in budget for, it's going to have to be adjusted. That's the case.
No, I'll talk about the citizen themselves.
I have a question, follow-up to, well, what is the average cost of that test, Mr. Morris? $10? Yeah. So, Mr. Morris, could you provide us with that information so that we can share that with residents if they choose to do it?
Cost analysis from Guardian, and they want to use them, it'll have a price on it, and they can pursue that themselves if they want to do that.
Very good. Thank you.
I've heard a lot of talk about individuals, but what about our schools? Has the schools' water intake, been tested?
So that is now on the revisions for the lead and copper improvement plan, that they will be tested if they fall into a certain year. And that's one of the things that we have to, I think it's, again, this is a very long document that they put on us. I think it's 2014. I don't want to be 100% on that. I think that's the year that they're saying. I think it's 2014. So anything older than that, we will now have to test that as well as daycares in home facilities.
In other words, if it was built before 2014,
I believe that's the date, but I'm not. I read through this yesterday, and so I'm not.
and so how far down are our schools on the list to be tested?
Oh, no, that, on this new lead copper improvement this year, we will pursue schools, we will have relationships with schools, and now we will do those, because that is required by EPA to do that.
Okay. And if there is something that needs to be reported, you will report it to the Jefferson County Board of Education?
Yes,
Or,
yes.
yes.
There will be the point of contact, because that's who we'll have to set up contact with. So everybody that we test, they get results. I mean, we can't, again, this is all public records, so I mean,
Mhm.
homeowners, businesses, wherever that test is done, they get copies of the results. And we're mandated by a certain period of time. As soon as we get those results, we have to have those back to them, and we send them all certified mail. Nobody can say they didn't get them. We keep those cards on file. Those cards are then submitted in the EWRS that we have to do back to them, because that's the, mailing is a little slow at the moment, so we do all that certified mail.
So, please, I heard you, but I didn't understand. What does the testing at one's home entail? You take a bottle?
So it all depends on when your home was built, because if your home was built after a lead ban,
That you're going to test, like they're on your
yeah,
list?
anything, just say, 1986, I did when Alabama did the lead ban, so anything after 1986, we don't test for, because there's not anything in there, and so we have to create that. But if you were free 1990. All you do is your faucet, your sink faucet has to sit out maybe 6 hours, maybe 4 hours, I think 6. And then when you wake up that morning, you walk to your sink bottle in there, you open it up, fill it up, close it, put the top back on it.
Okay, and so do you ask for any information, like, do you have a whole house water filter? Do you have a reverse osmosis water filter in your home? Because that's gonna show clear water.
Do not sample at a point to where you have a filter at. Again, these are all questions that we have to ask.
Yeah.
Before anybody makes a list. If you're on a home filter, do you have a place if you're on a home filter that you can take the sample? And so those are all questions that we have to get through before you even become, an applicant to be tested for, because again, that's not good data. And so we know those are legitimate questions that, if you were on a list, I mean, you would have a conversation back and forth, and we would discuss that. And I do that with every person that I come in contact with. So, I mean, that's 50 people. I mean,
That's right.
at 15, 20 minutes a pop, it takes a significant amount of time to prep for this, to go out and do it. And then we have to have those samples back. We don't have to get them all back that day, but we try to cover it in a week. So it's a pretty lengthy process. I mean, the education on the sample that we try to give is lengthy, and we try to get a lot of education on it, because again, we want to have a good sample, because that sample also represents you, it also represents the city. And I don't want you to be uneducated and get a bad sample, because then it could look like, Washington is doing things it's not supposed to do.
Right. Well,
All
thank
right.
you very much. These kinds of meetings are very, very valuable to John Q. Public. And so.
Hate to
thank
cut
you.
everyone off. We're down to a minute and a half. We have a lot of people waiting to come in for the 6 o'clock meeting. Ms. Piker, you finished with your question?
Well,
Miss,
I
we
was
did have
just
someone,
thanking him
we did have
when you
someone
started
raise a hand.
talking, But thank you so much again.
Did you have a quick one, Ms. Shear?
I have a couple of quick questions. We were sent to ADEM to look at the samples, and that other report was so much better. The one that the mayor showed us of all the samples and the results. I went into CAMRAD sample results, and that's what I read from last week, and I had to convert numbers. And some of them, I think maybe they had different conversion numbers, but they aren't quite the same, whether they're delayed or whatever. But that was very, very helpful. Maybe we can keep that published, because, as we stir in this, we don't get answers. And when we're just sent to ADEM, we can't find it. So that was really helpful. It was really helpful. Secondly, I don't, of course, know how to think about computing the hazard index computations. Can't do that. But also, can we use the $5 million from the grant for some of these projects that we have?
We have we're still working through the financials with all of that. But let me ask you, I'm gonna ask this question, I'm gonna answer this as you brought it up. When I told people to go to ADEM to get the correct information, I only told them that because they thought that we were lying when we provided the information. That's why I told people, if you want the real information, go to ADEM and get it, because you don't believe what we give it to you anyway. So I'm tired of people saying, well, the mayor told us we need to go to ADEM to get it. I told you to go get it because that's the correct source, not because we didn't want to provide.
All right.
I couldn't find it. I really had a hard time finding it. So thank you. And I think that the reports and this presentation was really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second? Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. This meeting's adjourned.